Today with us we have Ratna, who would like to share her experience of her master's degree from City University of London. So she completed her master's in data science from City University of London, and now currently she's working as an AI engineer. So in this video we will discuss about things like course content, teaching methodology, resources provided to her, life in general in London, living expenses, and finally the most important question, was it worth the money? So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Thanks, Ratna, for joining and taking some time to share your experience on programming Cradle. To start with, I would like to know a little bit more about you and maybe give us a brief introduction about you. For example, your bachelor's degree, if you have any experience about your experience, and then what course you did from which university, and then we can get into the questions.
Yeah, so it's my pleasure to join you and help others to gain an insight of how masters is here in UK. And a little bit about myself, I had done a bachelor's in electronics engineering from Pune, India. And after that, I started working in an IT company where I did get some experience of being a data analyst and some projects of data science. So around 3.5 years of experience, and then I decided to get a foundation knowledge on data science and came here to do my master's. So I did my master's from 22 to 23 from City University of London. And right now I'm working as an AI engineer in EBRD Bank in London itself. So that's a short introduction on myself. Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. The first question I had was about the rigor and the pace of the course. Was it suitable for someone who had no experience in data science, and was it also suitable for someone who had a little bit more experience like yourself? So how was the pace and rigor of the course?
Yeah, so the pace, it started quite slow on the first semester. So the course was of 1 year. It was divided in 3 semesters.
Mhm.
First semester was mostly introduction, and the subjects were quite easy, like principle of data science and starting introductory subject. But then it starts getting on quite fast and hectic from second semester onwards. But again, it depends upon the type of electives we chose on. So I did choose medium to higher difficult electives, but yeah, so in general also the hecticness started increasing from second semester onwards.
Right.
And on the part of whether it was for all domains or experience or low experience, so people come from not just specific to data domain, they did come from various other domain like mechanical engineers, civil engineers, even architectures were there, and obviously from maths background, computer science background, even I had electronics background and chemistry background, so it was open to all. And the only requirement was you should be knowing programming, specifically Python,
Mhm.
and some advanced level of maths. So if you can prove that in your cover letter that you have some experience and you have done something, so they are very acceptance of all program people. And the course is designed in a way that they do focus more on basics,
Right.
so it is mainly basic level course. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I remember when I applied to City University of London, I think it was data science or AI, or maybe I applied for both. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while. But they did ask me to provide them a certificate of Python programming. So I took a very quick Udemy course and I had
Yeah.
provided them the certificate. So yes, I remember that. But it's good to know that university is taking care of that, so
Yeah.
that once a student come here and start their course, they are not caught off guard that
Yeah.
I don't know programming and now what am I supposed to do? So they're taking care of that. So that is really
Yeah.
good.
And just after getting accepted, they did provide us with a resource of things which we should go on before coming here. So
Mhm.
they do have list of things which included Khan Academy videos and other things which we should know before coming here. So in that way, it was good. And also they had those pre-course classes which they covered on MATLAB and mathematics and a little bit of Python. It was short classes, but it was good for a revision before starting the actual course. So it did help in that domain as well.
Yeah, it's good to know that the course is structured for all sorts of background
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Now that brings us to the next question, which is the course curriculum. So what were the modules in first semester, modules in second semester, and
Yeah.
then your dissertation part?
Yes. So in first semester, it was mainly basic. So it started with principle of data science, and then we had visual analytics, then we had machine learning. These were all compulsory
Mhm.
courses. And then in next semester, we got neural computing and then big data. And in electives, we had all sort of things like NLP, deep learning, reinforcement learning was also there, and then information retrieval and web semantic and knowledge graph, all sort of thing which if you are passionate, you can pick that on. So those were things in the course structure. Yeah.
Was there any option of specialization? So, for example, if you want to get into computer vision or if you want to get into natural language processing, so was there anything like that?
Not that of a specialization, but for example, I took NLP and web semantic. So it depended upon us to choose upon those courses. But apart from covering the basics and module, there was not specialization. Yeah, we can take that thing into our dissertation, and then we get a lot of support to do research, and then we can do
Mhm.
specialization, but it was not like specialization on the course.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And when we talk about machine learning and deep learning,
Mhm.
did they cover mathematics aspect of it as well, or was it just to understand how machine learning algorithm works, but not specifically on the mathematical side?
They did cover a lot of statistic, which was a little difficult, but the lectures were recorded and there were drop-in sessions, so we connected. So they did cover from the basic as well, how this is derived and all the statistical part of it. And then we got to use those. So it was math
Mhm.
heavy in some parts, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. And how was the teaching? You did mention just now that there were recordings, but
Yeah.
were there live lectures as well, or was it all do it yourself? We are here to support you. How was the kind of methodology?
Yeah, so it was mainly taught lectures and then the practical. So it was 50-50, 2 hours of taught. And then just after that, we would be applying the same thing in the practical. And then there will drop in session weekly. So if we are stuck anywhere or even outside of course, if we wanted to ask, there were professor and assistant. So mainly practical focused,
Mhm.
which was like quite different from what we had in India. So there were no restriction on attendance for postgraduate student. We can skip those classes as well, but surprisingly people would come more on classes and drop in sessions, so it was more practical focused.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's what I have seen here. It's very practical oriented, hands-on oriented
Yeah.
learning in the UK. So even if you're someone who doesn't like attending classes, you tend to attend classes because you learn so much and you get to work hands-on on different kind of projects.
Yeah, that drop in session did help us a lot because we had a lot of questions and they were very surprisingly helpful
Hmm.
in answering all our questions, very patient with us. So yeah, that was one good thing.
Yeah, that's good to know. On an average, how many hours of classes and labs were there per week?
Okay, so we did have 2 days of classes per week, but
Hmm.
those 2 days were full, like from 9 to 6 or 9 to 5. So 2 2 hours of class compact with practicals. So four subjects in a semester, and they tried to cover it all. So it was
Right.
just 2 days of classes, but those 2 days were full pack on.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Apart from these video lectures, what were the other resources that they provided?
Okay. In terms of resources, we got one data camp course thing, which we
Hmm.
can do as many session or as many course in that for 1 year. That was one good resource. Again, I really utilized the drop-in session. That was another good resource. We had library, physical, and then digital as well, where we could get some resource books. And then there was one thing which was called data bites, where they call
Hmm.
alumni of the college and then they would share their experience. So that was again a good resource which we keep on getting per week basis. They were very consistent and helpful. So
Right.
those were a few resources. Yeah.
And in terms
In
of,
yeah, sorry.
go ahead, go
Go on.
ahead.
So in terms of compute or laptops, we did not get anything.
Hmm.
So it was mostly trick based. We were asked to make account. Mostly it was done on Google. So Google do provide credits when you sign up for it, and there were some tricks where you can get more credits. So these were some tricks which we applied, but there were no computes or there were some labs which we could
Hmm.
utilize, but we prefer using our own laptops and our own thing. So yeah.
Right. So they did not provide any cloud resources. You did mention that Google. So was it provided from university side GCP cloud instance, or you had to create your own account with your own Gmail ID and stuff?
Yeah, we have to create our own account. The trick was provided from the university, but not much. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. But this is something which I think can be very interesting for someone to know that they need to bring their own laptop if they want to work on the
Yeah.
projects. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
We could manage with the lab resource, but if we wanted to do more, I think bringing your own laptop and having your own computer is helpful. And we did end up buying more computes for further dissertations because
Mhm.
there was a crunch of time and we wanted it to work faster. So we did bought some computes on our own money.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the same thing because we were making use of Google Colab, and
Mhm.
if we wanted to have some more compute, we had to get pro version of Google
Ah,
Colab.
yes.
So yeah, I remember that as well. But our university did provide Azure instance. So I did my master's from Newcastle University a
Okay.
while back. So they did provide Azure instance, but when we want to work on like multiple projects at the same time, you can't have multiple instance of Azure. So we had to make use of both of them. So yeah, it makes sense. I think it's kind of similar in most of the universities.
Mhm.
That brings us to the next question. So far we have tried to understand the course content and we have very good understanding about the course content and the resources and teaching methodology. The next
Mhm.
question is, once you finish your course and when you are in a job market trying to look for a job, what kind of jobs usually people from your batch are getting? So you mentioned you're working as an AI engineer,
Mhm.
but then there might be other people in different roles like data science or data analytics, those kind of things. So what were the different roles that people are able to get?
So mostly people were focused on data science roles because this program catered to that much. But people were getting placed in data analytics, junior data science, and then machine learning. So these were a few roles. I could not find much on being an AI engineer. There
Mm-hmm.
was very less because it did not actually covered much part of AI. Since I got elective in NLP and then
Mm-hmm.
started doing my own project in LLM. So that's how I got it. But this course focuses mainly on data science part of it. So that's why people got data science role most. But being said that the job market is not good, so there are still many people who are still looking for jobs, and some people get back to their old jobs which they come from. So
Mm-hmm.
that is also one case which I saw here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is a valid point. What was the kind of support from career service team in terms of helping you in preparing for interviews with your CVs, those kind of things? So what was the support?
So they do provide a career website, which is like very general for all the student of City University, and they do have software which rate your CV based on how much it matches with job description, how much it passes the ATS software,
Mm,
and all those things. They do provide internship preparation, but those things I think is more useful for a graduate who has not much experience of applying, making a CV. But I think it doesn't help much for a data science master student. Those were very generalist. Even there were many career fairs happening in our university, but mostly they were focusing more on graduates and other routes and not specific to data science. One good thing which our course did was of providing internship help that
mhm,
was specific for data science. So if you do, there was two routes. So one route was doing simple data science masters, and then the second one with internship, it extends the master course with like 3 months,
mhm,
and they provide three specific months to get the internship. It was July, August, September, these 3 months. So you cannot just find other companies who provide specific to these 3 months. So they do connect with some companies. Those were not very big company, mostly startups and
mhm.
companies who have founded from the City University, and it was easy to get that internship.
Right.
So I also got it from there. So mostly they will provide emails and you have to apply quite fast on that, and it was easy. Like it was 2 or 3 interviews. Mostly they had an understanding that what level we are at
Mhm.
from City University, so it was easy to get those internship. And some people got it converted into full time through internship, so that was like best case scenario.
Right. Yeah, that is good. Do City University also have a placement year?
They do have a program called Masters with Placement, but it is not the placement which we consider. They
Mm,
provide you a module where you can find out how to find out a problem statement and then provide solutions. So it is not that kind of placement.
mhm.
They groom you up well, but in placement, I think there is not much support. You
Right.
have to find your own connection. They are good in providing you the connection, but you have to work well in finding out how you can utilize that. So yeah,
Right.
no such thing as placement.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And so far, I've talked to a couple of people, and everyone mentioned the same thing, that placement aid is not that helpful because at the end of the day you'll have to do all by yourself anyways. So why not complete your masters in 1 year and then get into job market and try to find a job?
Yeah.
So the next question is about being international student. So what was your experience, any kind of challenges or difficulties that you faced, or maybe even advantages if there were any? So yeah, how was your experience as an international student?
Yeah, so being an international student and studying was very smooth. The professors were quite helpful. Everyone was there for us. Like there was not a single problem in like navigating the university and doing the studies. But as soon as we get into the job market, we obviously have one major disadvantage that we are paying more of a
Mm,
fees. The second thing, we do require sponsorship job, and seeing the current scenario, there are not much companies who are willing to give sponsorship. That is the major issue. The second issue international student have, because of high fees, we do take some loans and we have to pay them back as soon as we complete the study. So we have to keep looking for part-time job, and it again gets difficult to keep applying for these jobs and doing the part-time job. So those are major disadvantages. For me, thankfully, I had dependent visa, so
mhm.
I don't have to think for sponsorship. So I would apply for all kind of jobs. It was a little bit easier for me in that respect, but in general, I would say it is a bit difficult. There is no such advantage for international student.
Right. Okay, yeah, makes sense. And I totally agree to that point. The job market is very rough right now.
Mhm.
So, if the job market is quite rough, and if someone finishes their masters, and if they think that they want to get into research side of things, so maybe PhD or research oriented jobs within universities, so were there any opportunities of that sort?
Yeah. So since this university also caters PhD students and they keep on doing research, and we keep on getting those emails where they would require someone to help some particular kind of project. They would ask for our resume. For example, I was passionate in music. I did Indian classical music, and I had a background in electronics engineering. And there was a jazz music project for PhD student going on digital signal audio processing.
Hmm.
So there I got selected for, like, if I wanted to contribute into that project. It is not paid, but you really get experience in working with PhD students and like professors who can help you out of those research based projects. So you have to connect and you have to act fast on those emails and connect with people, and there are always research projects going on, so it's there is a chance you can get absorbed into those projects. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's really good to know. And how is the part-time job market, and where you were living? Were you living in London or elsewhere? So, how is the life and living expense and part-time job opportunities in the location where you are living?
Yeah, so our college was in very central London, and I was also living in central London. And part-time job is quite very easily available here. So there are various apps as well, like Stint, where you can register and then start selecting the part-time job which you want to do. And it is not very fixed. You can take time offs and those things. So in finding part-time job, it was not at all difficult in London, and also the pay rates were quite good. And in commute also, the transportation is quite well. The only problem is it is very costly
Mm.
for traveling and for rents in finding place in central London. But apart from that, the facilities, even one benefit I found living in London is there are so many seminars and meetups going on apart from college as well, which you can
Yeah.
attend and get benefit of that connecting sessions. So that was one benefit, and college also provided good resource to go do group studies, go to libraries. So always something or other event will keep on happening on university, and you can participate well if you are living around uh, the center. So yeah, that was the case.
Now, and how are the expenses, like living expenses in terms of rent and stuff?
Yeah. So we had many students who shared up the living spaces, and then also the minimum would start from 750 per month, and there is no high limit of it. Like
Yeah.
as much amenity you want, it will go. So on average, you can take like 750 or 800 minimum of rent, and then transportation. If you are living close to a university, you will walk, but then again, transportation would cost like 50 addition
Mhm.
to what we have in rent. And then groceries and food, it again depend, you are cooking or you are buying. Food is also very expensive here. So again, it builds upon cost. You need to have like 1500 to sustain yourself for a month in London.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did visit London last year, or probably last to last year, and
Hmm.
we have traveled to a couple of places here, but the hotel prices were just way too expensive in London.
Yeah.
So from that, I could relate that how expensive the rents are going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I think one very important thing that you mentioned was if you live in London, there are a lot of seminars and events that you can attend. And in fact, I am attending one on 4th of Feb. So
Yes.
yes, I have attended a couple of them in London, and they
Mm.
do that quite often. And when you go to those places, you can actually make some really good connections,
Yeah.
and you can maybe sometimes find job opportunity there as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That is one major point being in here. I have attended a lot of seminars and those things, and I have met a few good people. So I think if you utilize that, you can make connection and you can find job through that as well. Yeah.
True, true. Any general advice that you have for students who are coming for masters in the UK or in your university?
Yeah, mainly I would ask to start fast. Like you are given the syllabus as well. If we manage to read before coming in here, prepare on like Python and basics, we can utilize more of masters in here. Because the only difference what it makes if you are experienced or non-experienced is the type of project you pick on, and there will full freedom in choosing any kind of data, any kind of project. So if you have some experience, you have understanding, you will pick better project, will be in term better for your portfolio later on. So that is one advice, and the other one is to like analyze if you what is the your opportunity cost,
Mm.
if you want to do masters or not. It is like quite tricky. It looks good, but you have to gather all the data and then make an informed decision. So those are a few things I would ask a future prospect student to do. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning those. Now, the final and the most important question, was it worth the money?
Yeah, this is very important and good question, and my answer would be yes and no, both, because for me it turned out well, but it could turn out not as you have planned, because the job market is not good, and if your main focus is getting a good paying job, and if you did not achieve your aim, then it is not worth it. And I have seen people who are still looking for a job, and to sustain in this market is not that good. So, if your aim is either to experience the exposure here and other things, then it is good, you can have it. If you have a good balance which you can support yourself, then it is good investment. But again, you have to think very carefully, because if you see in the market, the people who come up to speak about these experience, those are mainly those people who have make something out of it. But there are people who are not coming up and speaking in front, who has not got good output of
Mm.
masters. So you have to consider the fact that it is 50-50, not just all good things. So yeah, it depends upon your aim and the cost you are paying, return on investment, so many things. Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many factors that you need to consider, and even I saw quite a lot of people from my batch and other universities close by that
Mhm.
they had to go back to their home country. And but the good thing is that as soon as they went to the home country, they were able to find something there.
Yeah.
But being in the UK, trying to find a job as an international candidate is slightly tricky, mainly because of one reason you mentioned, visa. And the other
Yeah.
thing is that you also need to have very good communication skills, because when you are in your home country, you can probably
Mhm.
get away with only technical skills. But when
Yeah.
you're in the UK, you need to converse with your team members, and they
Mhm.
expect you to speak clearly.
Yeah.
So people need to focus on both technical as well as soft skills.
Yeah, this reminds me of the major challenge which we faced here. So we are very good. We, in the sense, I'm talking about Indian students who came here. So we were good in making the projects. We would implement all our time in creating the project. But when the time came for writing a report, it was such a nightmare, and we only provided like a day for writing reports. So that was one big difference which we found from Indian education system and here. The report has all the marks, and we have to represent what we did, what our thought process was, why we selected a particular way in which we did the project. So yeah, these things are also important, how you present it, how you sell your project. So that was one thing which I got reminded by the communication thing which you said. Yeah.
True, because even when I came here, I the first project that I worked on, I only focused on the technical aspect. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, report is fine. I can just write it in 1 or 2 days. But
Yeah.
then I got such bad marks in that report, in that project. So after
Mhm.
that, I used to finish my technical project in like a week or so, and then I used to keep like couple of weeks to write that report properly,
Oh, yeah.
and then the marks eventually improved. So yes, it's very important to work on your report. Yes, of
Yeah.
course, your technical aspect is very important, but equally your report is very important. What was the distribution of nationality in your batch?
Mhm. So it was very hard to find the locals of here in
Mm,
our batch, but 50% would be European student, and the other 50 was Asian and other country student. And there were many Indians and Pakistanis and yeah, Chinese people in our batch. So yeah, this was the case.
right. Okay. Thanks. And the next question is about employment rate. So, do you have any idea about general employment rate? How many students have gotten placed?
I think it is still 50-50. Many people are still looking for a job, and it is not very happy case scenario.
Mm,
But it has nothing to do with the university. It is like all the job market. It might improve in the coming year. We don't know. But yeah, it was not good for our batch as well. It was not good for just before us. So yeah, that was the case.
yeah, and I think it is same for almost all the universities. Universities do mention on their page that it's 80%, 90%, but it's on a very long range, like 5 year, 6 year period, rather than
Yeah.
just 1 year period. So, yes, I totally
And that
agree.
percentage is also not like very direct. For example, in our university there was a program called apprenticeship, so
Mm,
they do have a job and then still they were studying, and that employee was paying for their masters. So there were so many tricks. Some people were on sabbatical and doing this course, some people were taking a break, so it is not like how many are getting placed after that. So yeah, those numbers are a bit tricky. So
yeah.
these are not very happy scenarios. If I have seen it very close, I would say no, it is like 50-50. If you are lucky and you are like really learning and trying to apply as much as you can, then you can get something out of it.
True, true. One other thing, how important was it to have some experience and then come here and do masters, as compared to if someone who is a fresher and they just come here and do masters and then try to find a job?
Yeah, so I think experience does count a lot. Even the internship experience did help me to get to pitch like for applying for other jobs. But if you are directly coming for masters, one good thing I would suggest is look out for those graduate schemes, which many banks and big companies keep on posting, and those comes in particular time limits. So if you are graduate this year, you have to keep looking beforehand for those opportunities, and those are very good way to get into a big organization. They will train you, groom you well, and for example, if you get into data course, then you will do data analysis, data scientist, and based on your expertise they will get you some job into that. So that was one thing which I found quite good. For people who have no experience, they can directly focus on graduate schemes. But if you miss that, it is a bit difficult to navigate the job market, because they are always looking for relevant experience. So either you have to build a good portfolio where you can show that you have those experience, but otherwise it is always preferable to have a little bit of relevant experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, seems like we have been through all the questions. So
That's nice.
thank you so
It
much,
was
Ratna,
good.
for answering all the questions so patiently. I'm sure it's going to
No
help a
problem.
lot of students. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm happy to help. Yeah. Thank you.
So there you have it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to reach out to Ratna, I will leave all the relevant links in the description. So do check out the description. Also, if you would like to share your experience, do reach out to me. It will not only help you to share your experience, but it will also help other students who would like to get an admit in master's program in the UK.